Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Skyman TV, the tallest man in Black Africa. The court of Martha Koome has been very disappointing. The Supreme Court of Kenya is one body that is supposed to be independent. The 7 judges list are to be desired. Most of the rulings that they have been making have come under heavy criticism. And when you look at Martha Koome's courts, it is a lot to be desired. When you compare Martha Koome and David Maraga, wanatofautiana kama usiku na mchana. Maraga was truthful to himself, truthful to the nation. The man was bold. The man was principled. The man was firm. And he could even tell Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, no, this one, I cannot agree with you. I remember one time he advised Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to dissolve parliament because of 1/3 gender rule. Because it is, according to the implementation schedule of the 2020 Constitution, if Parliament fails to pass the rules about 1/3 gender rule, it was the responsibility of the President of the Supreme Court, who is the Chief Justice, to advise the President to dissolve Parliament. And Maraga was bold enough to advise Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to dissolve Parliament. But the problem with that law is that it doesn't state what should be done if the President fails to dissolve Parliament. Because, yes, you advise, but after advising, what next? So I think there was a loophole there. It is Maraga who nullified the 2017 general elections because of irregularities and irregularities. It is Maraga who would tell the president no to his face. When you look at Martha Koome is a hostage of the executive. Martha Koome's court is a capture by the president. It has been captured. And when you look at Martha Koome's court, you don't see anybody who is inspiring there. You don't see any inspiring judgment. In fact, when I compare the Supreme Court of Kenya and the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal looks more competent. I don't know what you think, but when you compare the Supreme Court of Kenya and the Court of Appeal, mahakama ya upeo na mahakama ya rufani, mahakama ya rufani, that is the Court of Appeal, mahakama ya rufaa inaonekana kama ina watu ambao wana ujuzi mwingi. Inaonekana kama koti ambayo ina watu ambao wana maarifa, wana tajriba kubwa, wana uzoefu. And when you look at the Supreme Court, it has failed the test of time. Again, from where I sit, if Raila Amolo Odinga, among the demands that were put forward to William Samoei Ruto's government, one of the demands that I would have put is to reform the Supreme Court of Kenya, or come up with a way, pass a law in Parliament that will disband these apex courts. If not disbanding it, come up with a referendum that will ensure that we don't have a Supreme Court. or if you have a Supreme Court, it is serving the purpose that is intended to serve. Because when they passed the judgment on LGBTQ, the judgment is something that has been questioned by the churches. The judgment has been questioned even by every Kenyan who is right-thinking. Because this one tells that the court has no morals. The court, when it comes to the moral judgment, because you see, the law cannot apply outside the community in which they are operating. Kwaba, the law cannot be applied in a vacuum. It must be applied in a society to the people. So when you look at this judgment, whereby they said that lesbians, gays, and the whatnot have the right to associate and should be registered, because according to them, they have been discriminated many times. I believe this one was wrong. It was the wrong judgment. It was the hate of folly. It was the hate of ignorance. Because when you look at it, the judgment in itself is evil in nature. Because, as many people are saying, it is turning Kenya into Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is court of Sodom and Gomorrah. Koti la Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is not the Supreme Court that we expected. This is not the Supreme Court that was envisaged by the framers of the 2020 Constitution. The court that was envisaged was supposed to be the custodian of the morals of the society. But this one is turning out to be a very funny court. When you look at the Supreme Court, you realize that one of the reasons why they are passing this kind of judgments is because they want to support William Samoei Ruto. Or everybody knows that William Samoei Ruto is pro-American. And when you look at the Americans have been very keen on this kind of laws to be passed, this kind of judgment. And you remember one time when Obama visited Kenya, he told Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to allow gayism and homosexuality. And in a very bright way, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta responded and told him that, to his face, that gayism and homosexuality and lesbianism is not an issue in Kenya. It is non issue. So there's nothing to talk about because it's not an issue. But now when you look at William Samoei Ruto, who is a Christian, who is known to quote the Bible, kile ambacho tunaona kwamba because of the many conditions, maybe of getting US AIDS, he has to support these kind of rulings. Because even after the ruling, we have not seen William Samoei Ruto coming out to condemn this kind of behavior, this kind of ruling, because it should be condemned by Kenyans. We have no problem with our Zugus and their kind of lifestyle, but they cannot come here and impose the devil's rule. Sheria za kiibilisi hazitakubalika hapa. Kwamba Wazugu na ushenzi wao, Wazugu na taasubi zao, na mila zao na desturi zao, wasituletee hapa na wasitumie mahakama kutuletea mambo kama haya, kwa sababu Wakenya hawatakubali. Again, when you look at what is happening, you realize that this country is like we are losing it. When we have the courts, even using, remember the 2022 ruling by Koome with very funny terms, hot air, chasing the wild goose, the language that left so many questions, the language that showed very clearly that the Supreme Court was on the side of Kenya Kwanza. The Supreme Court was like a branch of Kenya Kwanza, because what they did is that the judgment that they gave is a judgment that clearly put them in the defense, like they were defending William Samoei Ruto. Instead of being a neutral arbiter, wakajitokeza kama watu ambao wanamuunga mkono William Samoei Ruto. And then after that, we saw Martha Koome akimuinamia William Samoei Ruto. And I remember when he appointed the Supreme Court judges who were rejected by Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta because of so many reasons. Tuliweza kuona Martha Koome akimuinamia, bowing to the executive, bowing to the president, which is wrong in my view. Because the Supreme Court, the judiciary, is supposed to be independent. It's just an arm of the government, just like the executive, just like the National Assembly. And none should bow to each other. They should only complement each other. But now what we have seen even the National Assembly bowing to the executive. We have seen the judiciary wakisifu, wakiinamia William Samoei Ruto, jambo ambalo hatutarajii kamwe hata kidogo. Kwa hivyo kile ambacho tunaweza kusema ni kwamba the blood of Kenyans will be on the lips of the Supreme Court judges. Already the blood of Kenyans is in their hands because of the way they participated in burgling these elections. Instead of maybe telling the people to go back to the elections, instead of studying the rule of law, the law were bent to favor William Samoei Ruto, to favor Kenya Kwanza, for reasons best known to them. Because I believe one of the reasons why they ruled in favor of Kenya Kwanza is because William Samoei Ruto had promised that if he were to win the elections, he would name the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal judges almost immediately. And for sure, he rewarded them. Kwa hivyo kile ambacho tunaona ni kwamba tumeona ya kwamba wamekuwa na uhusiano mwingine ambao hatutarajii uwepo kati ya taasisi kama hizi za serikali. It is wrong in my view, and it is high time that Kenyans say no to some of this kind of ruling, because we cannot continue having this kind of rulings emanating from the apex courts, the court that is supposed to be an example of what it means to the rule of law. I don't know what you think, but if you ask me, the Martha Koome Court is an embarrassment to this nation. The Martha Koome Court is an embarrassment to the legal fraternity. The Martha Koome Court is an embarrassment to Kenyans. It's an embarrassment to the moral custodians of the African nation. I don't know what you think, but the Supreme Court of Kenya has completely failed the people, has completely failed the nation, has continued to embarrass the Kenyans themselves. I don't know if this court can be abolished, but I believe there's a way that we can come up with a referendum, because this country desperately requires a referendum, so that some of these institutions don't serve any purpose. Some of these institutions are just there to just utilize taxpayers' money. They're just there to just enrich themselves, and this is happening when the Kenyans are dying of hunger, when Kenyans cannot be able to put 3 meals on the table. The Supreme Court of Kenya has failed. This is Skyman TV, the tallest man in Black Africa. Kindly subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment, and please let me know where you are watching us from. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.